Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Aline and Elva. Welcome back to Lecture on Samadhi. And as always, we will start with our prayer first. Let's sit upright, place our palms together, and concentrate on the prayer below. We take refuge with our kind mentor, Benny. We take refuge with Shakyamuni Buddha. We take refuge with all the triple jewel of the 10 directions and the 3 periods of time. Thus will open your future, then surpass profound and wonderful Dharma in hundreds of millions of years. It is difficult to encounter when I see and hurry, receive and behold it, and without you fathom the Tadakta's true meaning, and without you practice the Tadakta's true way, and without you attain the Tadakta's true state. Without that, we can spontaneously express the Buddha's understanding, Buddha's view, Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's merit and virtue, Buddha's ability and Buddha's state through our actions, speech, and thoughts. We also found that all living beings can enter into the Buddha's understanding, Buddha's view, Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's merit and virtue, Buddha's capability and Buddha's state all into us. So yeah, hopefully with the prayer, we can go ahead with our time in the Buddha's wisdom. Okay. Yeah, good morning. Good morning again. Now let's go ahead with our review first. Yeah. Last time we learned something about Einstein's saying. Now let's listen to the video and warm up.
Often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true beyond the limited self-structure." Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self." Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Yeah, and yeah, from the video we know that the reader just read it primarily. Yeah, let's check it together.
Primarily.
Wow, I always pronounce like primarily. Actually, it's primarily.
Primarily.
I made a mistake. I felt sorry. Primarily.
Primarily.
Here it is. Primarily. I will highlight the stress here. Okay, here it is. Primarily. Primarily. I'll check it. Primarily. Okay. Sorry. Primarily. So this is the primarily, and by the measure and sense. Yeah, yesterday we learned something about measure. And measure sometimes is a standard, and is also some degree, right? So the measure, it also means standard, also degree, and sense, yeah, it also means, yeah, some aspect, some degree. So, and the preposition can link in the measure and in the sense. Both of them are okay. It means, yeah, in some degree. In some degree, it has attained liberation from the self. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, this is the measurement, and this is the measure. It also, this is the standard. Yeah, to judge a person is a person. To judge a person is a human being, not an animal, not a hungry ghost such as this. Yeah, is to see he has attained liberation from the self to some degree. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in some measure and sense. So that's it. Yeah, that's what we learned yesterday, and this is also the highlights of yesterday. The measure and sense. measure and sin has its own meaning, similar to degree. Yeah, some degree. All right, yeah, time for us to practice, to follow it, listen to it carefully, concentrate, focus on it, please.
Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
All right, yeah, would you like to follow it, to shadow it, Aline, to lead us, please? Twice, okay?
Yeah. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Yeah, once again. And the first one is Einstein.
Einstein.
And you can yeah, perfect. Einstein. Yeah, Einstein.
Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Yes, thank you so much for your excellent, exact, shadowing. I really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's your time, Elva. Please concentrate on yourself. Okay, I'll concentrate on it. I will play it for you.
Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self." Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Yes, please follow it. Pass.
Yes. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Yeah, once again.
Yes, thank you. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Let's double check. Okay, especially the weakened words. Yeah, weakened words.
Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Okay, here has should pronounce like is attained. So pay attention to it because this is not so convenient, not so important, not so meaningful word. So he attained liberation from the self. So perfect. Yeah. Otherwise, I think every word, Elva did it exactly the same as the video. You're amazing. Thank you. I will follow it. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. Okay, to check it out, he is both of them are okay. He is, yes, both of them are okay. He is. Yeah, I will check it out for you somehow. Okay, no, here it is. Intonation and yeah, here it is maybe. Okay. Have should have. Okay, check it more. This one. Now this one. Something wrong with mine. Show. No, this one. Go ahead with. Okay, I think we need to. Yeah, from this one, we know it. Has. Yeah, have. Yeah, its strong form is have. Yeah, and yeah, it should be like this. Have, but the weak form is if, or if. So from it, we know it. Yeah, we know this one is. Not this one. Is in this one. Okay. He is. So not he had attended. Yeah, this is not so meaningful, not so important. Now let's listen to it again, and time for us to recite it. Okay. Sorry.
Often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self, and sense in which he has attained
He is 10, yes. So that's the weak form. We need to shadow it.
determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation."
Yeah, such as, yeah, so spontaneously, so naturally, he has attained liberation from the self. And in that way, he can, yeah, make attend strongly. He has attained liberation from the self. So that's it. Okay, time for us to read it again and then to recite. Yeah, as always, Ali, you first, okay?
Okay. Einstein said, Einstein said, Einstein said,
No problem. Sad. Yeah.
Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he attained liberation from the self.
He is attained. Yeah, he is attained. Yeah,
He
yes.
has attained liberation from self. Now I will try
it again.
to recite it. Yeah.
Okay.
Einstein said the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Yeah, you did it. Good memory. You're amazing. Thank you so much, Aline. I admire you in the memory issue. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Now it's your time, Eva. Read and recite, okay?
Okay, thank you. Einstein said the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Well, you can handle it. Yeah, you can handle it in a natural way. Yeah, congrats. Now it's time for you to recite it.
Okay. Einstein said the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Perfect. Here's the 10, the liberation from the self. Yeah, you did it so perfectly. You're amazing, you are. Thank you, Ella. You are so clever. I will do it. I will follow it. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. Okay, Einstein said the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. Okay, so that's it. That's what we learned yesterday. Yeah, okay. I think it's time for us to do the review first, okay? To link these two sentences together. Now let's go back to the first one.
Elliptic to one another, of physical everything has your spirituality, we become free of perspectives, have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self." The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Yeah, time for us to practice. Yeah, Aline, you first to read these two sentences through, okay? You know through now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it now. Okay,
So perfect. Yeah. Yes, let's do it, please.
Yeah. The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Wow, perfect. I really enjoy it. Yeah, thank you so much. You read it so perfectly. Now it's your time, Elva. Hey,
Yes, thank
Elva.
you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here. The
Just do it.
greatest minds. Yes. The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
Perfect. Okay, I will practice it. Listen to it again and yeah, find out something different from us. Okay.
The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self."
I found here the mind maybe it's different.
The greatest minds in human
The greatest minds, okay, the greatest minds in human history has often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, and also said, okay, I will check it together.
history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said,
okay, in this way, yeah, in the rising tone, rising. I will check it out in this way. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure. I think measure it should be in a rising tone. Okay, check it again.
"True measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense
The measure and sense in which he has attained liberation
from the self."
and liberation from the self. Yeah, it's very highlighted, liberation from the self. Okay, I will read it again. The greatest mind, I forgot the mind. Yeah, mind is quite different.
The greatest minds in human history.
Okay, the greatest minds in human history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. So that's my child. Thank you for listening. Now time for us to recite them. Okay, try your best. Aline, would you like to try?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
The greatest minds in human history have often pointed to the levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said the true measure of human beings is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Wow, yeah,
Thank you.
perfect. You did it. Yeah, well done, well done. Not only the content is right, but also your intonation is also right. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, it's your floor now. Elva, would you like to try?
Yes, thank you. The
Okay.
greatest minds in human history have often pointed levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self.
Yes, so you just recited, right?
No, just read it.
Okay,
刚才是读
I
的。
thought, yeah, you are so familiar with the content. Yeah, no worries. You try to recite it from, read it from your memory. Okay, also means recite it. Okay, not look at the
Okay.
screen. Yeah, read it from your memory. Yeah, just close your eye and find something in your memory. Okay, please.
Yes. The greatest minds.
Yeah.
Okay. The greatest minds in human history have often pointed levels of source beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, the true measure. Einstein said, the true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which chaos attained liberation from the self.
Perfect, perfect. Yes, your memory is also as good as as Aline's. Yeah, you are talented, both of you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. So I will recite them. The greatest minds in human history, history have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, the true method of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, for your time. Yes, good memory. Yeah, okay. Thank you and welcome you, Vigorous. Oh, Vigorous just it has gone. Okay, no worries. Now let's go ahead with our new content. In the sentence 208 and 209, maybe there is just one page left for us to end this Samadhi one. Okay, just treasure the opportunity, the chance. The last page we have learned that this paragraph and one more page left for Samadhi one. So now time for us to go ahead with our learning. Listen to the video first and to understand the whole paragraph. What does it mean? What's the main idea of these two sentences? Okay, let's focus on it.
Have often pointed to levels of thought beyond the limited self-structure. Einstein said, "The true measure of a human being is determined primarily by the measure and sense in which he has attained liberation from the self." So it's not that thinking in the existence of the self is So it's not that thinking in the self. So it's not that thinking in the existence of the self is bad. Thinking is a wonderful tool when the mind is in service to the heart. In Vedanta, it is said that the mind makes a good servant, but a poor master. So it's not that thinking in the existence of the self is bad. Thinking is a wonderful tool when the mind is in service to the heart. In Vedanta, it is said that the mind makes a good servant, but a poor master. So it's not that thinking in the existence of the self is bad. Thinking is a wonderful tool when the mind is in service to the heart. In Vedanta, it is said that the mind makes a good servant, but a poor master.
So you know everything? Vedanta. So the highlights should be on the second, the stress should be on the second syllable. Vedanta. Vedanta is a kind of, yes, Vedanta. This is the teaching from the Brahman. You know Brahman? Yeah, in the Brahman, maybe in this way. Brahman. Maybe more or less in this way, I'm not sure. 这是婆罗门教里面的一个教法。It's not so， 它不是很究竟的，但是也有一定的道理。So that's it. So our samadhi full of knowledge, from different religions and different cultures and different countries. So it has enlarged our eyes, right? 就是使我们开阔了我们的眼界 ，open our eyes a lot. Extend our knowledge. 就是扩大我们知识面。So this is the teaching from the Brahman, and also, the true, not the internally true, but somehow it is right. Now, hello, Aline, would you like to paraphrase what you have got from these two sentences, okay? The main idea, main idea?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, you are thinking.
Yeah.
So it takes time, right? So how about you, Elva? So what have you got from these two sentences? Hi, Elva, still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
you are also thinking?
Yes, always thinking.
Okay, thank you. So great. Yeah, you come here with your mind, always thinking. It's great.
这段话我现在可以说。
You please go ahead.
第二句话，先说第二句话，就是
嗯
在这个叫什么哈？就婆罗门教这个
丹塔，
这个
丹塔
啊
是
维登塔当中
吠檀陀经吧，吠檀陀经也吠檀
啊
陀，吠丹塔陀，
就是在这个当中，就他就被说成这个想法呢，他是可以做一个好的仆人，好的服务员，但是呢，他不是一个坏，but a poor master，可以可以做一个好的仆人，但不是做一个坏的主人。
但是是做一个坏的主人，
但是
not but 就是不是而是，它就是而是 yes， 他就是说他是一个好的主人，但他是一个好的仆人，但也是一个坏的主人，一个很糟糕的主人。Yes, you're right。
yeah， 是的。
对于仆人的位置来说，这个思想是好的；对于这个主人来说，这个思想是坏的。Why do you think of it? How do you think of it? The sentence.
Yeah， 可以让他做仆人，但是不能让他做主人。做主人的话，可能就不好了。
Yes, yeah, amazing. Because somehow, the mind is the first thinking, right? I mean, you know me. So you can have various first thinking, and if they appear, you can look at it. You can take insight into them, and maybe somehow it helps you to deal with something. But you cannot, you cannot let them occupy your mind. Yeah, no.
他上面这句话就是说，这个想法和经验，它本身它并不被认为是坏的。这想法它是一个工具啊，一个想法去服务这个心。
Yes, amazing。就是善不善法，性为根本，也不是尽是这样子。也就是说，这个思想就包括我们的妄想。有人说，如果你善加利用这个妄想，它能够创造出来一切。比如说我们的那个《琅琊榜》啊，类似于这些四大名著，它都是依靠妄想而产生的。它能更好的服务人类，服务这些科学文化呀，以及让我们更好的洞察什么缘起上的事情，以及他们的妄想的产生、发展，以及导致的结果是什么？怎样的妄想，怎么样去追随，以及如何的去把控它，才能够让它往好的趋势方向发展？怎么样妄想，怎么样的发展，怎么样的变化，以怎么样的去结果，导致我们去追随它的时候，成为我们主人的时候，让我们一败涂地。就是这样子的一个过程，所以这个想自身没有错，就看我们怎么样的去利用它。如果我们的心念是正的，然后我们没有被这个心魔所迷惑的时候，它就是一个好的工具。wonderful tool. You can take full advantage. Take the opportunity of your first thinking, your thinking to create novels, 就是你的妄想去造钱，去创作，去写小说。As well, you can take full advantage of your first thinking to look into what they are and to enhance your wisdom. 就是在另外一个方面，在我们日常生活当中，你也可以去关照妄想，也可以去以此来加固我们的智慧，这个关照的智慧。你知道谁在想，是谁在想，他想把我们引导到哪里去，他是怎样的产生、发展、变化以及结果的。That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we just practice the intensive reading, Yeah, Arlene, you know it. Intensive reading. 就是刚才为什么就是一来就通读整个一段，然后让我们去 generalize，去概括你 get 到的点，比如说是您从这一段当中得到了这些 main idea， 这也是一个逻辑的培训，也是一个精读的培训。精读也就是泛读的培训，就是然后精读的话就是一句一句的把它的那个就是尤其是细节给弄出来，是一个泛读的，是 intensive reading extensive reading， 就是一个泛读的一个阅读能力的培养，非常需要，因为我们所有的知识的切入口都是要通过阅读。比如说安利您写每篇论文的时候，真的要读很多你才能写得出来，所以这个泛读的能力是非常重要的。你首先要知道在这个领域当中别人是怎么样去写的，他的这个 main idea， 他的主要的观点是什么，就是要在那个 literature review 里面，在那个文献回顾里面要写出来。比如说某某某在哪一年哪本书里面或者哪部经里面说了什么观点，就这样的 quotation 就引用过来就好了。So that's the ability to read something and to get knowledge from others. So that's it. 这就是刚才我们要做的就是我们要做的这个事情，也是学术上就很 basic knowledge， 很 basic ability， 这做学术研究最基本的一些阅读能力吧。And thank you for your understanding, everybody, for your kind consideration. OK， 好，那我们第一句，因为时间有限的问题，第一句我就请阿令来帮我们分析一下这句。In the first sentence, the grammatic issue, the structure, okay? So it's basically that. What does it mean? What does it function? How does it work? 它是怎样来构成这个句子的？怎样去奏效、去工作的 ？Yes, please.
这里的话 ，that 它是就是同位语从句吧。
同位语从句，
这是 that 引导了一个就是它引导 that 引导一个表语从句啊。这里有一点混了。
同位语从句是这样子哈，就是我们两个，比如说你有跟你的同桌是同位语，它至少有一个人先出现，然后另外一个这个从句就跟他是同桌关系。所以说同位语从句它的前提条件是有个名词出现，这个不是同位语。好，那你现在已经意识到它了，不是同位语。好，once again to try it again。刚才你已经找到它的节点在哪了？
那就是主系表结构 that 引导一个表语从句。表语从句当中 ，thinking and the existence of the self 是主语，然后也是一个主系表结构。
Yes, amazing.
后面的话是 thinking is a wonderful tool。这是。然后，
好，那这句看来是一个逗号，它到底是一句话呢，还是两句话？然后哪一个是主干的句子？请快速反应，然后告诉我，因为时间快到了。这个 so 是一个结果状语从句。